this is a forum of members of parliament. If there has to be an alternate, that alternate must also be a member of parliament. It can't be from outside parliament. So it's not so it was a mistake that I have you as on the list, but you can be in the meeting as one of the public on the list, but you can be in the meeting and skip you. I hope we are in agreement.
No, right. It is in order, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I miss to Mr. Heron?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I just want to check that we're using the right terminology here when we talk about invalid, because the 32 names that are now being referred to as invalid, I don't think they're invalid. They just didn't accept the nomination. And if you read the advert or the call for nominations, it was very clear in that advert what the requirements were to meet to be appointed as the public protector. But then it also required the nominator or the applicant to include a signed acceptance of the nomination. So, I mean, I'm not sure that there was an obligation to go and ask all these people if they were aware they were nominated. The duty was on the nominator, the party or the entity that was nominating these 32 to obtain. I think we must be careful about calling them invalid. They are persons that were nominated, but they never accepted the nomination, according to this document that we were given. And there was an obligation on the nominator to obtain that acceptance of nomination.
Yes, are you done, Mr. Aaron?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Swart, Honorable Swart, over to you. And
yes,
then after
morning,
you,
Chair. Morning,
yes,
Chair, morning, colleagues. I just want to support what the Honorable Heron has said, because the advert set out very clearly what the directions are for the nomination process. However, we've got some very eminent persons who have been nominated, including the Chief Justice, a Judge President, other judges, other top lawyers, and I think the important point is these are not invalid persons. They're eminent candidates. They'd be excellent candidates, but the whole point is they were not consulted and did not comply with the requirements for nomination. And I think we need to make that very clear. I just wanted to support what Mr. Heron said. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Klape, you are the last person on the matter.
Yeah, good morning, Chair, and thanks for the opportunity. Chair, I also want to support the notion that the advert was clear on the 32 names that are invalid. It is also the onus lies with your nominator to inform this person that I'm nominating you, and this is the requirement. Now, this was discussed in our previous meeting when we were looking at the advert. So the advert, according to our agreement, was clear and straightforward as to the requirements. When you nominate a person, you need to source the acceptance letter, you need to source the CV and all those. Now, Chair, I would agree with the honorable members that are saying, let's set this once aside. Honorable Janji has proposed that they be informed that the nominations were not successful. And Chair, on the other matter that I was looking at the notes of our last meeting, we also agreed, Chair, that according to our program, when the closing date comes and CVs has been received, the Secretariat will go through that as their process. Sift the CVs received according to the advert and make a determination of which ones are valid, which ones are not valid. Bring them so that we agree they go for public participation, for public participation or comments. So I would agree, Chair, that we are still on course at this point. For me, that matter was dealt with. We were expecting that when this comes before us, a determination would have been done. We said in our own words that was an administrative administrative process. So I am okay, Chair, with the fact that let's deal with the 32, inform them that it was not successful, and allow the process to move forward where we are, publish those that are valid. Thanks.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Advocate Romano, may I ask you to flight the 32 names again? Colleagues, now
okay, Chair.
Based on the discussion, I think Honorable Heron and Honorable Swart and Honorable Thape have clarified why the 32 names we must set aside because they did not comply with the nomination requirements that required that there must be an acceptance letter. So the duty was on the part of the nominator to inform the nominee, his or her nominee, and ask that the nominee must accept nomination, and then furnish him or her with his or her CV, which would include the qualification. Now, the acceptance, that there is no acceptance letter, there is no CV, and there's no qualification. I recommend that these 32 names, we're not dealing with the names, we're dealing with the nominations. Is the nomination that we say is invalid, not the people who are nominated. It's just the nomination. It's invalid for non-compliance. So I hereby recommend that we set aside or declare invalid the 32 nominations for non-compliance. Do I get a mover and a seconder on that recommendation I'm making, colleagues?
Got my hand, Honorable Chair.
Yes, Honorable Nkosi Buthelezi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to all my colleagues. I just want to move that all these names that don't comply with the requirements are considered invalid and be set aside, as per what the Chair said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And is there any objection to that?
Yes, Chair. Please register our objection as the EFF.
Thank you very much. It's noted. Any other objection? Okay. So the decision is that we set these 3 names aside for non-compliance. Let's go to the list of 38 names. I make these recommendations, colleagues. I recommend that the committee declares the 38 nominations as having passed the first sifting process, and 2, grant the committee secretary permission to go ahead with the publication on the website of the 38 CVs for public comments for the period beginning 12th, which is today, to the 21st of July. Do I get a proposer and a seconder? Anyone who propose acceptance to this recommendation?
Swart proposes, Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Swart proposes. Any seconder?
I second, Chair.
Honorable Magwanishe seconded, and is there any objection, colleagues, to note it? There is no objection. So we've dealt with the two list. Then we can then go to the next issue that the colleagues raised. There was a point that Honorable Bredenbach raised, whether we will narrow this list down at some point. There was the response from Honorable Magwanishe that we are not at that at the moment. The 32 names are yet to be published for public comments, and then after we then meet to do a second round of shortlisting. After we have looked at the comments arising from the public participation process. So that process, so that's the proposal by Honorable Magwanishe. Does Honorable Bredenbach, does that address, I'm coming back to you because you raised the issue. Does Honorable Magwanishe answer you satisfactorily?
Actually, it was not. Actually, it was probably the judge, but yes, it covers.
Honorable Janji. Honorable Janji.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Janji, for that correction. Does that address your concern, Honorable Bredenbach, so that I then put that one aside?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it does.
Thank you very much. And then there's a point that Honorable Janji raised that we need to look at is what are we inviting the public to comment on? I don't know, but I thought I would say on that one, I'm making this as a proposal. We're inviting the public to comment on the suitability of the candidates. The suitability is viewed against the selection criteria, and I'm not quite certain if we need to start look at the attributes or qualities that each candidate must possess, and then publish those to guide the process. Can I get guidance on that, colleagues? Honorable Hon.
Yes, thanks, your Chair. While suitability might be a bit of a catch-all phrase, I think we should try and follow as closely as possible the wording set out in the Constitution, which of course deals with the, I want to say, the technical requirements, the admission as an attorney or an advocate, etc., but also critically speaks about the fact that candidates must be fit and proper. And I believe that we should use those specific words also when we invite the public to comment on the suitability of candidates. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hon. Honorable Janji.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Hon has covered me. I think that's a very important aspect of it, because we anchor our work on Section 193 of this process, and therefore the Constitution has certain determinations there. But I was also hoping that if then the publication goes out from tomorrow, Friday, that the Secretariat and yourself would have prepared something that we needed to, because what the last thing you want to do is to have some creations that are not going to help us. But if that has not been done, Honorable Horn's point is well supported by myself, because I was asking that question in order to avoid any free-for-all kind of public commentary on these names, so that we know what the expectations are. we clearly confined about when they do that, when we meet, we would be considering these comments in relation to these specific matters, not to be all over the place. But Honorable Horn confines it that so that suitability is expressed much more, and there's no better way to do that than anchoring that in terms of the Constitution. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So we're therefore saying this: a suitable person for nomination as public protector must be a South African citizen, must be fit and proper, and must comply with the requirements as prescribed in national legislation. The national legislation lists the qualification criteria that that person must have, must be a judge, and so on and so forth. So I think would make that clear when we publish the names. Do you agree on that? Any objection? No objection. Please, Ramano, Advocate Ramano, take note of that. All right. So, colleagues, I think we have considered all this. Colleagues, what we have since done, just for information, is the summary of the CVs, all right, of each candidate. Can you flight that the summary? Advocate Ramano is for information to members. Maybe they would want to add something. So this is the summary when we meet to look at each name. I don't know if you need us to add any information on the way we have captured it. For example, let's take this candidate. Just finish the candidate. This is the summary that we are providing. The CVs are available. So what do we publish? I need guidance on that. We publish the CVs itself, or the summary, or the CV together with the summary. Can I get your guidance on that one? I don't see the names, the hands. Just scroll it right to the end, Comrade Ramano, because for as long as it is on the screen, I will not see the hands. So this is the summary. All right. Now I can see the hands. Honorable Vessels has not spoken. Okay, I'll come back to, maybe Siston wants to guide us. Maybe can I ask?
Yes. I was going to ask for that order, so that we are guided.
Okay.
My apologies.
Okay, it's fine. Now then, let me hear here before I come to you. Honorable Siston.
Chairperson, in the past, we published a redacted version of the CV. I would be cautious about publishing summaries of CVs. We would have to remove certain information anyway, certain personal information. But in the past, what we've done is we published the redacted CV. So we take out, anything like ID numbers or stuff that would regarded as sort of personal information, very, very personal, sensitive information. We remove that.
Thank you very much for the guidance. That is the guidance from parliamentary section of our staff. Honorable Vessels, and then Honorable Heron.
No, thank you so much, Chairperson. No, I completely agree. I think the redacted versions of the CVs should be published, and I also agree that summaries should not be published. Especially, I think it's an internal summary with the comments and so forth. So the redacted CVs, I propose we publish.
Thank you very much, Honorable Heron. Oh, your hand is still up? No. Okay. So there's acceptance that we publish the redacted CVs. and that the summary is for our own internal processing or work of the committee. All right, so I think there's no objection to that. So we will publish all the redacted CVs. In particular, we'll remove the personal information like ID numbers, addresses, telephone numbers, etc. And then 2, the publication will come with a guide that says the committee, the public must look at the suitability and then list what suitability means in our case, that the nominee must be South African, fit and proper, and must comply with the requirements as stipulated in legislation. So that is that. I think we are now towards the end, colleagues. Let me just, having agreed to that, let me just check if we have, all right. So we're publishing them from today till the 21st of July. And then we meet, so we have set aside, I want to remind you, colleagues, that we have set aside 24 to the 28th of July for shortlisting. I don't think we need all these days. I'm not quite certain if you want to comment on the shortlisting process now, the number of days, whether it will be physical or virtual, and whether the shortlist must be a specific number. If so, how do we get to that number? I think Honorable Judge attempted to address the issue of shortlisting, that let's cross the bridge after we have received let's deal with that after we've received the public comments. But I'm not quite certain if, even as he makes this suggestion, we can't determine the number that we want to, the specific number that we want to shortlist. But what is critical is how do we get to the number? For example, if you say, having done all this, the number must be not more than 10, for example. Could be any number, but not more than 10 or more than 15. And I don't know if you want to comment on that, or you want to leave this, but I'm worried that if we don't deal with it today and leave it till until we have received the public comments, it will be too late for all of us to plan our work as a committee. So to sequence issues, I would say that we must meet immediately after the 21st of the committee to then do the shortlisting. So that 21st is between the 24th and the 28th. So can we then comment on the shortlisting process? Honorable Chanji?
No, Chair, I just want to propose that based on experience, and would have done a lot of this with my colleagues in the justice space, I would suggest concretely that we don't need more than 1 day for the shortlisting. 1 day would suffice for us to do the shortlisting. And we could even take half a day, not even the full day, to do that shortlisting. So we can cut all other days. You can then indicate which of those days will be that 1 day that we use for shortlisting. But at this stage, I would be very wary. I am very allergic for us to get to any number. I would want us to allow the process of the public commentary to take place. And not even determine whether it's 10, 12, or 8. We deal with that later on, after we would have received the public comments. Not that it depends on that, but it just makes more sense. so that we allow all of the 38 or whatever names, and then we certainly are not going to be interviewing all of them. But I think it's quite premature at this stage to get to that number of how many would like to shortlist. And I would like to err on the side of wait and see. And when we get to that full day, we should be in a position to then determine the number of how many would be shortlisting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, do we agree that it must be 1 day? You have not commented on whether it should be virtual or physical, but I want to assume that.
Oh, yes, Chair. No, Chair. Sorry, Chair. Certainly, Chair. Remember, we discussed this before, that from where I'm sitting, we did say that perhaps today will be the last time we meet virtually. From that point of the shortlisting, we must be in one room and do this physically, Chair, because we must get ready to be physical. The interviews and everything else is not going to be necessarily virtual for it to be very effective. Thank you, Chair. So I'll go for physical setup.
Colleagues, Honorable Janji is making a firm proposal. One, that it must be the shortlisting must be for 1 day. In other words, we must set 1 day aside for shortlisting, to be specific. Set aside 1 day for shortlisting. 2, the meeting must be physical. It must be in Parliament. And then 3, that we don't specify the number of the shortlisted candidates. Now let's adopt a wait and see, and then make the determination after we have received the public comments. Is there any objection to that firm proposal?
Chair, I've got the 4th one.
You've got the 4th one. Okay, let me just deal with this. You don't have object to these 3, eh?
Wait, hear me out first. The 4th one is that Janji speaks for the ANC, not for us. It's not our spokesperson. This thing of you consulting Janji on everything. Janji, what are you saying? You don't comment on this. No, don't do that. This is not an ANC caucus. This is a parliamentary committee. All of us must be allowed to speak. You can do those things in your, what do you call those things of yours, of caucus there, not here. Janji speaks for ANC, not for us, please.
Just to, no, I hear you. Janji is speaking.
It was said on a lighter note. I think she's saying it on a lighter note.
It is on a lighter note. In actual fact, she is supporting your firm proposal. Any objection? Honorable Janji has proposed, seconded by Honorable Mawete. And any objection, colleagues, to this firm proposal? No objection. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I think we have done sufficient work to take us right up to the date that will appoint between the 28th and 24th and the 28th of July. Let me just check. Must it be a Wednesday or a Tuesday? What do you prefer, colleagues? Certainly not a Monday. I'm sure we can determine the date now of the next sitting, so that we leave this meeting with a date. Let me just check. The 24th, it's of July. It's a Monday. So
yeah, I propose a Monday, 24th.
Monday.
Yeah, I think they would have closed on Friday. So
yeah.
Monday, let's go for it, please.
Okay, let me see if there's any support for that. Honorable
you must get me on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I would suggest that we rather look at the Tuesday, the 25th, in order to get the Secretariat the opportunity to circulate the comments and for us to digest it maybe on the Monday before we embark on shortlisting. Thanks.
I think it also allows us a day to order the information for the committee. And I think this day, Monday and Tuesday, allowed us to clean up the information so that we present an orderly, we make an orderly presentation today. Wednesday suited us very well, but I think Tuesday will still be proper. Let me check with administration. Tuesday, is Tuesday fine, Tuesday or Wednesday? Taking into account the amount of work that would have to be done to put the information together for the committee.
Chair, from my side, even I've not spoken to my colleagues, but I think Wednesday would suit us much better.
Okay, and Honorable Vessel, would you want to? What is your comment on that? Wednesday, it allows time to do the necessary work for this committee.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think that is fair, and I think it is sufficient and better if we do it on the Wednesday. So I would propose Wednesday the 26th. Thank
you very much. Having motivated for that, is there any and seconded by Honorable Vessel, is there any objection to us meeting on Wednesday? Let me just look at the date. So the next meeting of the committee will be on the 26th of July. To do the shortlisting. Agreed?
Chair, I would have supported Monday, but Wednesday is very pragmatic. It's very practical. So, sorry, Honorable Maute, I go for Wednesday. No objection.
Thank you very much.
We see you, Janji, we see you.
Okay, colleagues, I think we can then end the meeting on that note. Let me thank all of you for the meeting, and that we adjourn it until we meet again on the 26th of July. Thank you very much, colleagues, for your time. The meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Recording stopped.